Three different events: the slalom, distance jumps and trick skiing. For most of the entrants it will be their first attempt at competition skiing, and judges predict they may have trouble determining if people are doing tricks or just trying to go in a straight line.
You see a lot of people falling off in our trick event too, because it's not an easy event, tricking. Something you learn when you're very young and you build on all your life.
Besides the novices, there will be plenty of credentialed skiers, among them Australian men's champion Andrew Beasley from Newcastle and Cassie Johnson from Albury, who recently took part in the World Games. It's the 30th year of the championships, and teams take the prestige of winning quite serious.
Tournament water skiing is a lot of personal sort of competition where you're out there to do your personal best as well.
Today, members of the Newcastle University team spent a few hours on the river fine-tuning their angles and adjusting to the different weather changes. The championships will also bring a financial boost to Raymond Terrace. Besides 100 competitors, there will also be 3 times as many supporters.
We start the championships on the Saturday and finish the following Sunday, 8 days later, and there's a social event organised for every night and a couple of days off.
The championship begins on February 10. The ladies' division has always been one of the strongest. While the numbers of men's teams has fluctuated over the years, the ladies have always remained constant. And when it comes to determination, it's a game opponent who tries to tread water in front of one of these ladies. Central Newcastle in the Whitecaps found out just that this morning when they came up against North Coast side Alstonville. The ladies in blue winning 5-3. The championships are also an opportunity for young teams to gain valuable match experience, and Lake Macquarie under-16s in the blue learnt plenty in their game against leading Tamworth club Sings. The youngsters led 3-0 at three-quarter time, but the Tamworth boys showed off their know-how to level the scores in just 6 minutes and move through to the next round. Despite hosting the championships for the past 3 years, the Newcastle teams don't seem to have a home pool advantage.
You're in the water, it's on the same size court. Some may say we grow an extra leg at home, but when the whistles start blowing, it's a totally different ball game.
And the crowds are growing every year as younger and younger teams take to the water.
I think with the hot Australian summers and some of the kids aren't real struck on standing on cricket pitches anymore, they like to go and have a swim.
Tomorrow's finals start with the men's B grade at 1:10. Melbourne BUSC is one of the few teams the Breakers are still ahead of on the premiership table, and they let their opposition know it. The Breakers' enthusiasm couldn't be questioned. Time and again they wrestled the ball from Melbourne and turned it into attack. Warren Spink was given plenty of open ground to work with, but was stopped at crucial moments. However, on his third charge downfield he was given the space he needed, drew the goalie, wore a fairly rough body tackle before belting the ball home. It was obviously a personal triumph for him, and he let those on the sideline know all about it. The goal now moves him to equal top spot on the league goal scored ladder. Teammate Mark Jones followed Spink's lead and continued the pressure, and when he wasn't firing them at the goal, Jones was throwing everything into his tackling. In the second half, the Breakers tried to keep the momentum rolling, Ralph Mayer continually charging at the goal. But the Breakers were denied the rewards of their hard work. BUSC were very rarely a threat. Their shots were often way off the mark, and when they did manage to finally get in the goal mouth, it was amid calls of offside from the Breakers players. The equaliser cooling any ideas of a morale-boosting win for the Breakers. Instead, all the good cheer went south, Melbourne well aware they were let out of jail.
About 100 people were at the Torres City SES headquarters for the ceremony. Long service medals were presented to the 10 volunteers by the Director General of the SES, Major General Brian Howard. Some of the recipients of the award have been serving for more than 30 years. Voluntary work usually takes up one day of each week for the workers, and they help out in emergencies ranging from bushfires, storms and floods to helping a cat out of a tree. The most recent work performed by the Taree unit was at the New Year's bushfires, where they helped evacuate people from their homes on the Central Coast. It was a double celebration for the 10 volunteers, as they also received national medals from Myall Lake's federal MP John Turner for their service to Australia. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News.
The 43-year-old Murrurundi grazier is always looking to logging unusual firsts. When he learned that the only solo flight south of Tasmania had gone only 15 kilometres south of the island, his aim became to fly non-stop to Antarctica and back. He set out from Wynyard in the early hours of Friday. 9 hours into the journey and over the sea ice area of the Antarctic, Norval's plane Amuni 205 developed an oil leak, forcing him to return to Tasmania. He touched down at Wynyard 18 hours later, after covering about 4,500 kilometres. Norval arrived back at his Murrurundi property last night, exhausted but excited about his latest feat. His other aviation achievements include flying solo across Australia non-stop in 1983, and in 1988 he became the first man to fly solo around the world.
Not your average school problem, but one which interrupts lessons for both teachers and students at Raymond Terrace.
We're in what they call the drop zone, where the planes are dropping their wheels, preparing to land at Williamtown Air Base, which is in about 3 kilometres behind us here.
Grahamstown Primary is one of the state's 5 new schools and the most high-tech. The classrooms, known as home bases, have been fitted with 3 levels of insulation in the roof, and the 12mm glass windows are triple laminated. Each room is fully air-conditioned. The school hall is easily extended. Outside, there's special rubber paving to absorb noise. And there's more.
We have what they call a tiered learning area, which is an audio-visual presentation room, a small theaterette if you like. The school is also cabled right throughout for computer and cabled also for audio-visual, so that the clerical assistants could be running a video in the clerical office, and like a motel, every classroom could tap into that video and be watching it at the same time.
A day later than most schools, Grahamstown Primary will officially welcome its 11 teachers and 330 new students tomorrow.
The move to oust the coach began in earnest last night. Club captain Darren Stewart put the players' complaints to the board. It's believed he was also armed with the resignations of 8 players that he would tender if he didn't get his way. The board then considered what they'd heard, but sent Foley home without a verdict about his coaching future. The meeting resumed early this morning, and it wasn't long before Foley was told to come in and clear out his desk. Only hours earlier, Foley said he wouldn't resign and that if they wanted him out, they'd have to push him.
I just wasn't prepared to back off or concede that I was wrong in any way.
The trouble first became public with the resignation of midfielder Nick Meredith. Supporters were then outraged when Warren Spink, the competition's leading goal scorer, was put up for transfer.
To me it seems as though it's a lesser of 2 evils for them. It was the easy option, you know, get rid of the coach, because most people perceive me to be the one that was threatening Warren Spink's future.
Previously, the club said Spink and Meredith were shown the door over contractual and discipline disputes. Today, the tune changed a little.
There has been one or two conflicts of personalities, but I'm sure that now is all behind us and the team will get on with what they're there to do, and that is to play soccer.
Foley was only 5 months into a year-long contract and now finds himself a coach without a team.
I think the barramundi season opens today, so maybe I'm off to Cairns to catch a few barramundi.
The players, though, don't have any time for such luxuries. They started their first training session tonight under stand-in coach midfielder Graham Jennings. Jennings will still play in the side and is expected to apply for the full-time coaching position next season. Darren Curtis, NBN News. Max Lees is known as the man with a touch for producing horses with a placid nature but a winning instinct. Since August, he's trained 35 Metropolitan winners. Last Saturday was his best day yet, recording 3 winners, 2 seconds and a third. But there were a few surprises. 2-year-old Dark Paradise won in his very first race and set a new track record in the process despite missing the start.
He drew one barrier, and often you see young horses from the one barrier miss the start because they're watching the starter and different things, which is just in front of them, and they often can miss it a bit like that, but in his barrier trials and that he didn't. He jumped quite well, and I don't think he'll have any problems there.
Stablemate Jermaine Starr is another 2-year-old going places. The pair are genuine golden slipper chances but have yet to qualify. They'll both come up against each other at Gosford next week in the $100,000 Carlton Slipper.
Well, it'll be a good race, the race at Gosford, because Ma Weiner is supposed to be going to run in it, and he's the early favourite for the golden slipper, so you'll get a pretty good guide on it if he runs.
Another in his stable is 4-year-old mare Flitter, and despite some great runs recently, he isn't entering her in the Doncaster.
I don't think she's just quite up to it. She's not a real big filly, and they're big fields, and she got knocked about a bit in the Epsom last year, and I thought it was best interest of the horse not to run her in it.
Besides the prize money, Max's current form in the Premiership is reaping other rewards. The phone hasn't stopped ringing from owners wanting him to take in their horses.
George McFarlane is an unlikely-looking video producer, but this economist and management consultant has helped develop a real seller.
You might remember that when we put this halter on, the advantage of it is that we have this loose chin piece that allows us control.
It may not be a city slicker's cup of tea, but the video handling of cattle has had great success in rural Australia and New Zealand. And after a call to a distributor, it's already been signed up for the US.
He immediately responded after previewing the video itself, and he offered us a chance to give the rights to them, which we took up straight away.
Written and presented by Bruce Urquhart, it demonstrates all aspects of handling and training cattle for country shows or sales. It was filmed in the Hunter Valley with a Newcastle production house editing a package that's had nothing but praise. It was George's company's first video. Plans are already underway for a sequel.
A change in the regulations governing company law and a change of address by Newcastle's Y have conspired to bring the association down. 20 full-time staff and numerous volunteers are now out of jobs, and all assets have been seized by the Australian Securities Commission.
It's quite devastating to all the staff and volunteers.
The YMCA has served Newcastle since 1908. Now a simple hitch in paperwork has closed the organisation.
I don't know who's to blame, but I mean the YMCA is all about people. We're a real people organisation. We're trying to meet the needs of the community, and it just seems such a terrible shame that somewhere back in 1990 some paperwork went missing or didn't turn up or went to a wrong address, and as a result of that the YMCA can't operate.
The closure comes as a blow to the association, which has been enjoying a resurgence in popularity, offering affordable sporting and recreational activities to city and suburban communities. The Y's Crangan Bay camp on Lake Macquarie is also closed, but school gymnastic activities are still being conducted through the Toronto branch of the YMCA, which remains open.
Well, I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to rebuild the Y and become incorporated again by the start of second term.
Just a few hours after stepping off the plane, and Derek Rucker is already fitting in. Coach Tom Wisman expects the point guard to play a major leadership role in his young side.
I think it's very difficult for a point guard to go out there and create and score and try and run the show as well. And I just want to play my natural game, which is more of a creator and do the things that can make other players much better.
And Rucker is no stranger to destroying a team via the net. In 1991, when he played for Brisbane Bullets and had hair, Rucker tore the Falcons apart. But a personality clash with the coach saw him leave Australia for 3 years, only returning with the expectation of brighter NBL prospects.
I would like to take that next step and prove to people around the league that they are going to be a serious title contender, not just a playoff wannabe or a playoff runner-up or something like that. We really want to compete and be title contenders.
But Rucker nearly didn't make it to Newcastle. The Falcons had to fight off serious challenges from Geelong for his services.
After weighing my two options between here and Geelong, I just really felt that, because of Coach Wisman, because of Terry Dozier, and Newcastle seemed a very stable organization. I just felt that Newcastle was the better choice for me. Plus, I think I like the city of Newcastle better than Geelong.
Alison Parker received this death threat in December last year. It was presented to the inquiry yesterday. Today, she told the court she was with Alison Newstead on the 5th of October. However, she did not see Alison on Wednesday the 6th, the night she disappeared. She said she was home in bed. Appearing this morning were numerous witnesses who told the court they saw Alison Parker with Alison Newstead in Vincent Street on the Wednesday night that she disappeared. According to Alison Parker, they were confused with the night before. In questioning Miss Parker, Police Prosecutor Phil Lloyd said, "I'm suggesting to you that they are not confused, that you are trying to peddle a load of absolute nonsense." Miss Parker replied, "No, I'm not." At one stage, when questioning Miss Parker about her movements, Sergeant Lloyd appealed to her to dig herself out of the hole she'd created. Late this afternoon, Alison Parker was bound over to give further evidence at a later date, along with Roderick Rankin, who were both charged with drug matters. Also on the stand today was Michelle Bennett of Curry. She told the court that on the Sunday after Alison had disappeared, Michael Self had come to her house and asked to speak with his former girlfriend, Elizabeth Porteous. He said to Miss Bennett, "Can you ask Elizabeth if anyone asks if she saw Jock and me on the Wednesday night? Can you tell her to say that she didn't see me?" In the witness box, Elizabeth Porteous confirmed Self had spoken to her and she had asked him, "Do you know what's going on about Alison?" Self allegedly replied, "No, I don't know what's going on." Miss Porteous said he then went very quiet. In cross-examining Elizabeth Porteous, Peter Cleves, counsel for the Newstead family, asked her, "Have you a feeling that Jock and Michael had something to do with it, both of them?" Miss Porteous emphatically replied, "Yes." The naked and decomposing body of Alison Newstead was found dumped at Pelton 6 days after she mysteriously disappeared. Police are uncertain as to how she died. The inquest continues tomorrow morning, with medical experts expected to give evidence.
With the Lord Mayor helping to hammer home the environmentally friendly message, it's the latest thing in renovations. Featuring solar light and heating, recycled materials, cost, space and energy-efficient planning, it'll have all the gadgets to make any home a green one.
Our idea is to make the house both efficient and easy to live in. So it's not we don't advocate people going back and living in caves. We want people to have a comfortable home, but also one that's environmentally friendly.
By mid-year, Kelly Boyle and Bill Herfel will take up residence in their New Lambton integral urban house. With $140,000 in sponsorship, the community project will be open for public inspection.
We'll have signs and whatnot through the house. We'll also probably be having a video to show the progress of the house, what's been done, and Bill and I will host tours. So we'll show people in each room what we've done, what can be done.
So, should other renovators follow the lead?
I think they should, and I think that people will, because what's environmentally friendly turns out to be economically sound too.
The scene is set, a Fawlty Towers-type hotel on the French-German border. Checked in is a German couple, a mistress, an Englishman played by Grant Dodwell and his wife.
It starts out with two characters, Brenda and Stanley, who normally holiday in Blackpool, and they suddenly hit the continent, and they meet sort of French and German people and the communication problems that they have.
In one instance, Dodwell's character Stanley wants to hear a radio report, but cabaret singer Simone has the radio. As well as entertaining audiences, another aim of Dodwell's while touring regional theatres is to diversify the audience.
What we're seeing now is we've got traditionally people who always have attended theatre, in their sort of, say, 40s to 50s to 60s, which is great to see those people. But it'd be great to see youth there as well.
Bed Full of Foreigners opens at the Civic Theatre tonight.
Rear Admiral Anthony Hunt travelled from Sydney for the weekend conference. On arrival, he was welcomed by the Hastings District Pipe Band. The 208 Regional Cadet Unit then went through its paces outside Port Macquarie RSL. The Rear Admiral had a quick chat with the cadets before heading inside for the real business of the conference. Strategies and future directions of the Navy were talked about at the meeting, and a dinner will be held tonight at the RSL before a memorial service at the Town Green tomorrow morning. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News. This unit, dubbed Caller ID, will be given to 400 households in Wauchope. The innovative system allows people who are receiving a phone call to see what phone number the caller is coming from. It records the last 20 phone calls to a house, and the idea is that people who just miss a phone call can simply check on the unit to see who was calling. All Wauchope residents will be involved in the 4-month trial, which begins next month.
We chose Wauchope after a national search. We chose Wauchope because it had the right mix of business and residential customers, and also because they had a large number of calls that both started and terminated on the local exchange. So there's a lot of calls in Wauchope that go from Wauchope to Wauchope.
The announcement of the new system came during today's Wauchope Telephone Exchange Open Day. More than 500 locals browsed through the maze inside the exchange, trying to fathom how the wires and components all work. If the caller ID system is successful with Wauchope residents, it will then be introduced across Australia. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News.
Left to go, and the Western Australian mare got to the front now. Asian Incline, and she's booted away. 2 lengths to Primacy, running on pretty well, and they're followed by Gifted Poeta. And back behind them is Asian Incline, the leader. Primacy is trying to get to Weta. Primacy on the outside is coming at Asian Incline. Primacy level. Primacy takes the lead in the final stages. He's too good, Primacy. Primacy wins it by a half length to Asian Incline with Freya third.
Millie Smith blew out 3 candles on her cake. There wasn't room for the other 100. Millie celebrated her 103rd birthday surrounded by not only children and grandchildren, but great-great-grandchildren. Still, with her sense of humour intact, she shared her secret to long life.
Oh, hard work. Getting cranky.
The Breakers came out with a spring in their attack, Spink and Brown looking for blood. Morwell couldn't take the intense pressure and eventually opened up with this beauty from wide out. 1-0, but the game was nowhere near over. Morwell peppered Breakers goalie Gosling with shots, but he wouldn't crack, even if he had to take it head first. A good win for Newcastle, especially playing away from home. In the last 4 weeks, local bowlers have been competing for the title of the region's best. Today, Redhead in the white shirts took on Windale Gateshead in the final of the District Fours. It was a topsy-turvy day, with both teams putting out challenges in the 25N competition. And after 4 hours on the greens, the scores were level. The umpires called for another end to decide the title. It came down to real pressure bowls, with Redhead skipper John Gregory sending down the winning bowl. It's the first district championship for Redhead in 38 years. And perfect conditions for the corporate triathlon on the Newcastle foreshore. More than 800 people took to the 500-metre swim, 20k cycle and 4-kilometre run. For most, the test was just to finish. The winning time, 47 minutes and 47 seconds, by David Collins from the RAF base.
In an unusual step, the organisers of the Manning Valley Dressage competition chose Valentine's Day as its theme. Although a day early, each horse and rider was judged on a choreographed performance done to music. Almost 70 riders and their horses from Southwest Rocks to Newcastle took part at Wingham Showground. Dressage is a female-dominated sport. It involves getting a horse to canter, walk backwards and do various other movements. The riders are using this event as a lead-up to the State Championships to be held in Wagga in May and the Australian National Championships, which will be held in Sydney in July. The 6 surf lifesaving clubs in the Lower North Coast Division did battle at Blackhead today. The local competition reached a climax with Foster clinching first place. 5 years ago the club had been in the doldrums, but its win today and last year has made it a force to be reckoned with. Foster is strong in its junior ranks, particularly the under-14s, under-16s and also the over-30s. Second place went to Blackhead, narrowly beating Cape Hawke. Blackhead performed well in all divisions. The senior Ironman competition was won by Craig Hosey from Cape Hawke, followed by Tim Manusu from Blackhead. The junior Ironman was taken out by Glenn Croker from Cape Hawke. Competitors will now have their sights set on the state championships to be held at Cudgeon Headland, south of Tweed Heads in March, and the Australian Championships at Belmont Swansea near Newcastle in April.
About 350 competitors from Hawke's Nest to Catherine Hill Bay were at the titles, 13 lined up for the Ironman. It was flat out from the start, the small surf being of little help to anyone. Swansea Belmont's Nat McGregor went into the board leg 20 metres behind, but he took control from there. Into the swim, and it was McGregor and then daylight. McGregor is regarded as Mr. Consistency, going on to take the Ironman from Redhead's Adam Medcalf and Anderson from Stockton. Melissa Thurlow from Swansea won the women's iron race. The open surf race was won by Redhead's Barry Osmond. Caves Beach took the open boats.